Hello again, everyone. This is Jeff Reed, former writer for iFanboy. Okay, picture the scene. It's a dark back alley in Gotham, right? And you're picturing some street toughs there. They're committing a burglary or a mugging or they're having a drug deal. And then into the scene leaps Batman from a rooftop, right? And he starts throwing punches left and right, throwing batarangs, kicking out, using all his martial arts techniques, and all those villains go down quickly. Does he ever come away from one of these fights with any sort of a bruise or a bump or even a scratch? The answer is almost always no. He wins these fights hands down. I'm not talking about fights with supervillains like, Clayface or Mr. Freeze or the Joker. Those he loses sometimes, has to come back and try again. I'm talking about random street toughs that are just out on the street doing their thing. They almost always lose a battle completely with Batman, except the times that they don't. And those are the times that I think are one of the most interesting. I'm thinking, of course, from the couple of times from The Brave and the Bold, which was a series in which Batman teamed up with other heroes in the DC Universe. There were times when a thug would come along and just hit him upside the head with a wrench, and they succeeded. Another time, a few issues later, where they hit him with a shovel, and they succeeded. No point was this even more obvious than in, say, the Alan Grant written stories of Detective Comics from the late 1980s to the early 1990s. There, it seems like thugs were getting pot shots on Batman quite often. There was the issue early on when a lead pipe was used to smack Batman in the back of the head and the shoulder. There was a time a few issues later where someone was taking videotape of snuff films of beating up Batman. And this isn't like a main villain beating up Batman. These are random street thugs who are just beating the crap out of Batman over and over and over again. It's surprising. A few issues later, Batman would have to go up against a guy wielding a guitar who would again crack it over the side of his head and then kick him while he was down. These are things that you don't think thugs capable of doing, but they did them. Even the unhoused Vietnam veterans in Gotham got one up on Batman when they sent their legless friend down a ramp to knock Batman over and then ganged up on him afterwards. Batman was able to, of course, knock them all away because he's Batman, but he didn't want to hurt anyone necessarily. But these are ordinary people taking down Batman. It doesn't happen very often. Now, truth be told, Norm Brayfogle, who drew a lot of these stories with Alan Grant, was a gorgeous writer and an artist of his own, and he could craft a story from just his images, like this hallway takedown scene, essentially, that Norm was doing. It is a beautiful piece of lyrical storytelling and just movement alone. And while I do enjoy Norm Brayfogle's beautiful work here, I also enjoy seeing Batman get beaten up by common folk every once in a while. It's nice to have a balance. Have a good one.